Howdy, howdy, everybody, and welcome back to Stranded Deep in Conversation. Today, the footage is going to be pre-recorded, simply because I fricked up the recording on that, but we're going to ignore that. That's not what it's really about. It's about the conversation that we have today here. And I figured today we talk about some interesting grocery store experiences, because I don't know about you, but grocery stores are a very important aspect to everyday life. You're going to grocery stores pretty frequently, and there's always some stupid situation. It's always the one weird store. There's always just a bunch of just interesting experiences. And I bring this up because yesterday, when I went to a grocery store by the name of Green Hills Grocery. And let me tell you, this place is an anomaly. So for starters, where is Green Hills Grocery? It's kind of just, it has like a fairly set location. Like it looked like it would be a proper store. Like it was like, it's its own building and its own little parking area. It wasn't like part of like a shopping center or anything like that. It was its own proper setup. So I was like, oh, okay, this place might have promised. And the reason I was going to this place in the first place is because a coworker of mine recommended it to me because they thought it was pretty. They said it wasn't a big store, but everything there was super super cheap. And it was like a lot of stuff. There's a lot of good stuff you can get, and I was like, oh, okay, sounds like my type of place. So I go in, I walk towards it. I grab one of their massive carts. They have some big, big carts in this place. And so I grab one of those super huge carts, and I walk in. And fun fact, right before you go in, they have a little sign outside. And this sign it's like one of those movie theater ones, It has like the plaque letters that you can like put out, like one of those fast food signs you see outside that say like their specials. And for them, they had some weird sausage for like $3, and a bunch of other crud. And they were also hiring cashiers, so I guess people don't really care too much about Green Hills Grocery, but I think they'll be fine. But I walk in there, and I head down the first aisle, which is like their deli stuff, their cheeses, their meats, as well as just a bunch of like baking stuff, just general things that you'd like in your house to eat and make food. But one of the other things that was also going on was just some chips and stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, I might as well just grab something to snack on. So I grabbed these like Snyder's cheese pretzels and stuff. That wasn't bad. They're not bad. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. I go down this aisle. Nothing really catches my interest. Nothing catches my eye except for like these. I have them right here. It's like jawbreakers. It's like tiny jawbreakers that look very similar to the ones in Ed, Edd n Eddy. And I was like, hey, that's pretty neat. I might try to see if these are good. And they're $2 for like what looks like 20 of them. They're very small. They're fairly small though. They're like the size of a gumball. They're not good. They're not good. They taste like you're putting like freaking Ajax into your mouth or something. Like it tastes like dish soap smells, and so it's very strange. I don't recommend it if you ever go to Green Hills Grocery. But I'm not gonna recommend this place for more reasons than that. I'll tell you that much. This brings me to the next aisle. There was a bunch of stuff there. There was like more breakfasty things. I don't know how else to put it. So I picked up this super huge mega box of Lucky Charms. It was like $5 for like almost 2 pounds of cereal. And I was like, okay, that sounds like a good deal. And then there was also some pancake mix. It was pretty cheap. I was like, hey, why not? So I grabbed those. Nothing else really interests me. I go into the next aisle. And this is when I start to realize just why everything is so cheap. I pick up a box of Twinkies, because this aisle is just like a bunch of just garbage for you, and then like also for some reason like different arrangements of household goods like toothpaste and dish soap and stuff like that. They had everything. They had it all for you. But it wasn't anything like actually like organized. Like everything was kind of just scattered on a shelf like a Dollar Tree. But I pick up these Twinkies and I'm like, and there's a little orange tag on it. This is 2 for $1, and it's one of those 10 boxes of Twinkies. I'm like, are you serious? I'm grabbing these, and of course there was 2 boxes just sitting right there in a place where they probably weren't supposed to be. So I was like, oh hey, this is my lucky day. I'm starving today. And I look and see some more things. There was some Dunkaroos, like a big old 6-box of Dunkaroos for $1.50. I was like, $1.50? These things are going to go for like $5-6 whenever I see them. Which I know that's still way overpriced, but $1.50 seems like it's too good to be true. And it absolutely was, because one of the most prominent things on the box is its expiration date. This thing expired in April. That box, and not just that one box, every box of Dunkaroos expired in April of this year. So almost 2 months ago at this point. And I'm just like, what? What? Do the people know about this? Like, this can't be like a thing, right? And I go to check the Twinkies. They expired in March. No, I can't. I was in disbelief. I was like, what? It just doesn't make sense to me. I check all the other things in my cart. Luckily, the cereal, the pancake mix, the pretzels, those were all fine and not, in date. They were good to go. There was some like Hostess tiny donuts I was gonna get for my brother. Those expired in January of this year. January. Almost half a year ago, that thing expired. And so I was like, okay, I'm now going to keep going through this store, but I'm going to pay very, very close attention before they try to kill me. And, that's what I did. So I went over. I kept going down that aisle. Everything in that aisle was expired. It was super cheap, don't get me wrong, but it was expired. And I don't know, maybe that's the selling point to this store, because I can't imagine why everything was so cheap otherwise. They're just like, hey, if you just want a stomach ache when you wake up tomorrow, but you only want to spend $1 to do it, come over here, I got your back, nothing to worry about over here. And yeah, it was pretty damn awful. I go down to the next aisle. It was just a bunch of more household stuff, and I got some ice packs. Because not only did I not have an expiration, but it was also getting hot as balls around here, around these parts. So, having some ice packs, I got 5, one for every day of the week, minus the weekend. The weekend people suffer, it's just how it works. But yeah, so those were good. I actually haven't used them yet. I'm hoping they're freezing. They've been in the freezer for like about a day now, so hopefully they should be good. But yeah, I'll find that out later. And that was the only thing in that aisle that interests me, and I turned the corner. There's only one more aisle. But there's also a lot of stuff on the end caps. And there's also a lot of stuff just sort of out and about. Like, there was a huge wall of just the weirdest name for a brand of chips. It was like Diffwershausen or something like that. It was something German. It's sounding, anyway. And it was mind-boggling because I couldn't make sense of it. It was fairly cheap. I didn't bother to check the expiration dates because I was like, there's like a friggin' super big bag of like cheese curls for like $2.99, and I'm like, okay, this is either like the shadiest brand, or it is the most expired product in the store. But I actually found the most expired product in that store going down the last aisle, because this aisle had like candy in it. It had like sandals in it. It also had their freezer section and their fridge section. In that freezer was a Red Baron stuffed crust pizza. There was also a DiGiorno, like chicken bacon ranch pizza that I really wanted to get, but it expired in February, so I wasn't about to do that. But I go into this, and I'm like, ooh, Red Baron stuffed crust for like $2.99. That looks pretty good. Maybe the gods will smile upon this store and myself, and make it so it even expires in a couple days, because then I can just eat it when I get home. No, they turned at me. The gods turned around, slapped me in the face, lit me on fire, and then pushed me into a crocodile-infested lake. Because that thing expired in June of last year. Almost a full year that freaking Red Baron has been sitting there, stewing in that freezer, just waiting for someone to be stupid enough to buy it. I can only imagine that there is no more pizza in there. There's just mold and bacteria. There's probably a whole new colony of some super freaking germ that's just sitting in that box, waiting for someone stupid enough to buy it. And it wasn't gonna be me. For once, it wasn't gonna be me. And there was like some Ritz bits I wanted to get. It was 2 for $1. I'm like, oh, that must be pretty good. They expired, and I think it was like early April. Like, okay, well, never mind that. And then I just like, there has to be something else. So I was like, there was also a back wall sort of section with bread and some more fridges. The bread, believe it or not, wasn't expired. Can't believe it. Didn't get any. I didn't really need any bread. But in the fridges, there was like cheeses and eggs and produce. There's produce in that fridge, and none of it was expired. I was thoroughly surprised. I was very happy, because I can imagine there's a lot of people were online for like the meats and stuff. Like there was like a proper deli set up there, and there was a lot of people online for that, and there was a lot of people going into that produce and big fridge. So I'm very happy that they aren't dying right now as I speak of food poisoning or something, or just death. And maybe, I don't know. Do spoiled eggs just kill you? I don't really know. But I got some string cheese. It was like $3.50 for a pack of 12, and I was like, hey, I'm a big boy. I could buy things, so I did. I bought some string cheese, and it was good. It was pretty good. It's pretty good string cheese. I didn't eat it all. I did eat like half of them though, but string cheese, if you're not eating at least 6 of them, then you're not fat, and I'm fat, so it's just how the world goes around. I'm trying to remember if there's anything else I bought. Oh yeah, next to the deli bit was a little rack of Hostess little snacks. It was 3 for $1. I'm like, oh, these are expired for sure. To my surprise, they were expired. But the most expired one was only like 4 days ago. So I was like, oh, these were like freshly put on the shelf. In like Green Hills grocery level of actually being, to date. That's probably the freshest thing they have. And, I succumbed, and I bought 3 of them. It's a Swiss roll, a donut glaze pack, and a devil dogs pack. And you know what? I'm not sick. I didn't eat them all, obviously. But I'm not sick. I'm okay. Blessed be my soul. They must have this down to a science or something. They know exactly when something that expires actually expires. I don't know. But I'm not going back there ever again. Because not only, and they also had just a bunch of dumb trinkets and stuff, but I love dumb trinkets, so I'm not gonna rack them for that. I'm not gonna rip them a new one for having a friggin' tabletop punching bag, which I really wanted to get, but it was held up by a suction cup, and suction cups are never good in any product, period. These don't work. But, yeah, so I checked out. The cashier was super nice. I wound up spending like $24. I think it was $24.12 to be exact. I also got some ranch because it wasn't expired. It expires in September, so that's probably again one of the more fresh things they have. I still have a few months to use that ranch. It was a pretty big bottle for like $3.50. So that was the catch of the day for me, because I never have ranch, and I like ranch, and I wanted to get some ranch. But that was my Green Hills grocery experience. I left. I had walked there. It was like an hour and a half walk, maybe. I didn't want to do that again, solely because I was so just underwhelmed and disappointed by this store. But I just looked. I got an Uber. Uber came pretty quick. I got home, told my family about the most disappointing store in the world, and yeah, that's about it for Green Hills Grocery. It was. I was really looking for. Like, they hyped this thing up, my coworker. They must not have looked at the expiration dates. Either that, or I came at the literal worst time to go to Green Hills Grocery. Is like, I'm not joking when I say like 60% of the things were expired. Like, it was bad. But it was really bad there. But luckily, I found some things that I wanted that weren't expired, and they weren't expiring in the next like month or so I can actually have time to use them, or well, I guess eat them. So it wasn't all bad, I guess, at the end of the day. But yeah, so that was Green Hills Grocery. In the grand scheme of things, I think it could have been worse, but I also don't think it could have been worse by much. So I'm definitely not going back there, unless like my brother or my sister is like, "Hey, let's go there again." I think it'll be fucking stupid, and then we'll be like, "All right, sure, yeah, why not? This is dumb. It's not too far away, so it's not like it's gonna be a burden." But the main reason I went there is because I was hoping for something that I can get like a Brooklyn experience out of for a store, because the only store that's really close to us at this point where we live is like a Wise. It's like an hour away in terms of like it's a grocery store, so it's like you really have to kind of go out of your way if you want to get food. So I was hoping for somewhere, and Wise, it's cheaper than some places, but it's still not like the coup de grace of cheap but quality grabbing food. So I was really hoping for Green Hills Grocery to be something similar to like a grocery store, like a deli that you'd get in Brooklyn. That's just like fairly cheap, fairly fair. Everything is, up to date. It's fresh, but it's like slightly dumbed down prices so people can be happy and be satisfied with what they're buying. But whatever. It's whatever. In terms of Brooklyn grocery stores, a little side note about me and my life in general. I lived in the exact same apartment with my family until I was 18. Until I was like almost 18. It was like 2 weeks away from 18. And so we were on like the very corner of one block. And a block is like a full, block of houses that I'm sure you know what a block is. So we were on the very corner of that. And if you crossed the street from there and just kept walking down the next block until the very end, there was what we called the across the street store. I know. Super inventive, super genius. We called it that because it's right across the street, and that store is still the best store I've ever been to, in terms of customer service, in terms of cheap things, in terms of just great all-around experiences. Because we went there for pretty much the entire time that we lived there, almost daily, because right across the street from that. So let's say you took a right to go to that store from my house on the corner. If you then went up from the store, you'd get to the school I went to until I was like 13, because it was like a K to 8 school. And then to finish off the block, if you went left from the store, from the school, you would get my best friend's house, which is like 2 buildings down on that block. And then obviously if you went down from there, you get back to my house. So my block consisted of everything I ever needed, essentially, which was great. Convenience through the roof. That's why that's pretty much the main reason. Not the only, but the main reason I love living there was just the convenience. You know, you can it could be 2 in the morning, you can just be wasted and be like, oh man, I could really go for a baked potato right now. And chances are, you're either going to go to a Rite Aid and get one of those freaking TGI Fridays baked potato things out of the freezer, and they'll still be open. Or you'll probably find a restaurant that's like, hey, it's 2 a.m., but whatever, come on in, we got the night shift going, it's fine. But yeah, this across the street store, there's so many good things to talk about with this store. I can probably go on and on if I think long enough, but I do have a few stories that I want to talk about with this. So, for starters, since obviously this store was like across the street from the school, it was like the halfway point between the school and my apartment, my family's apartment. It wasn't mine. I didn't own an apartment at 12. That would have been cool, but unfortunately not. But whenever we go there, almost always, at least if it was between like 8 to like 3 to 4, there'd be a teacher there. Or like we'd run the risk of there being a teacher there from our school. And on some days that was fine. Like if it was like 7:30 in the morning and my mom wanted us to get a coffee for her, we'd go over there, get a coffee. Sometimes the teacher would be there and you'd be like, hey, what you doing? You drinking coffee now? You're like 11. What's wrong with you? And I was like, it's for my mom. I'm like, oh, okay. And I just stopped talking. But there were some days where we call out sick. And let me tell you, there weren't, obviously we were kids, so not every time that we called out sick were we actually sick. Sometimes we were just tired, sometimes we just overslept. I don't know about you guys, but in my child brain, and even into high school, and sometimes just in general, I would much rather be not there than have to come in late. I don't know what it is, but just being absent is much more preferable to me than being late. Even if it's a day I really wanted to go into school, I just wouldn't. Like for 9th grade, my freshman year of high school, I missed the last 2 days because I had a horrible sleep schedule and had mild insomnia. So whenever I would eventually pass out, it would be at like 4 in the morning, maybe even 5 in the morning sometimes. I'd be like, I can probably stay up until the rest of the day so I can at least go to school. No, didn't happen. And I'd wake up at like 1 in the afternoon and I'd be like, oh shit, I only have time for like one more class. But it's whatever, I guess. But yeah, so we'd go to the store sometimes, even on our days off. Or not days off, but like days we called off sick. Because even if we were sick, it wasn't like terminal illness. We could still get up and walk around and turn around. So we whatever, if like our mom was like, hey, can you get us something? Because obviously they weren't just gonna leave us there alone. Sometimes they had to stay. And yeah, sometimes they would like us to get like some trash bags or a coffee or whatever, so we'd go and get it for her. And occasionally we'd see a teacher while we were out sick. And let me tell you, that was always the most terrifying experience. Because you'd either you either just chill with it and just hope. Like, sometimes you'd see them, but they didn't see you yet. So you were doing some Mission Impossible levels, like you're sneaking around a store, going behind aisles, trying to just make sure they don't see you. Obviously, they already saw you before you came in, but in your child brain, you're like, no, it's impossible. I know where I'm going. And where I'm going is away from them. And sometimes they wouldn't interact. Other times you'd be like, "Hey, what are you? Aren't you sick?" And I'm like, "Uh-oh." And it was the worst when it was your teacher too. Like, sometimes you'd find it's a teacher there, and they'd be like, "Oh, hello. Why aren't you in school?" Yeah, and then I just be like, I wasn't feeling good in the morning. And they're like, "Oh, okay. Well, I hope you feel better." And I'm like, "Thanks." But whenever it was one of your teachers, or your teacher, I guess, generally taught you, it was hell. It was proper hell. Because they would egg you on. They wouldn't let you go. They'd just be like, "Oh, well, I guess you're here. You want to come to school?" Or something like that. Like, one time, they literally were like, "Hey, you want to come back? You seem fine now. You can come into school." And I was like, "What? It's like 11. No, I'm not stupid." But either way. And sometimes you'd also see the teachers after school, too. So even if you went to school, sometimes they'd still go there to grab something. And one of those times, there was one teacher, who I will not name, for obvious reasons. He was he was a really cool guy. It's just that he also was a little too pushy into the personal life of my family. Or just, yeah, in general. And it was like 6th or 7th grade. It was me and one of my friends. We were going to the store after school. I got like a bag of chips and like, no cream pie from Little Debbie, which is still the best thing to get from Little Debbie. Don't at me. And he got like 2 zebra cakes or something. We put them in our book bags and we're just about to get ready to leave when this teacher came in and was like, "Hey, how's it going, what did you just buy? Let me see what's in your bag, I want to make sure you're eating healthy or whatever." And I was just like, you're joking, right? Like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I literally just grabbed my friend by the arm and was like, we gotta get out of here. This is stupid. And, like, I didn't feel like I was very in the wrong there. But, like, I mean, the dude was just super invasive. I'm not gonna go any further than that. But he was just an asshole. But he meant well, I'm sure. But it began to not really seem like that. So, I mean, whatever. But, yeah, so that store had, some funny memories, too. Like, there was one time where me and my sister, we were probably like 7 or 8, maybe 10. It was somewhere where we were like, I was old enough to remember it, and I don't remember anything before I was like 5. So, it was probably like 8 to 10, 8 or 9, I would say. And we were going out to the store because my dad wanted some milk. He wanted us to get 2 gallons of milk. And with me and both my sisters, my twin sister and my older sister, we were going to get some milk from the store. And so we go there, we get the milk, it's fine. We pay for it, and we don't get it in bags because they already have a handle. What's the point of getting it in a bag? So I hold my gallon of milk like a sane person, holding it by the handle, other hand on the bottom because I'm still pretty weak at this time. So at least I can hold it up like that. It's not like it's not like it's just sagging down. But my sister had a much more ingenious idea. I don't think I could have ever thought of this if you gave me time to try to think of it. She put it over her head. Which, I mean, like, if you have your hand on the handle, it's like, okay, it's easier for, like, leverage, I guess. I don't know what the science is behind it. But no, she did not have her hand on the handle at all. She had her hand on the top, the very, very top, where the lid is, and the bottom, flat, sort of soggy bottom, because of the condensation. So she was holding this thing, sort of just like she was trying to put on a really undersized hat. So she's just kind of squeezing it onto her head. She's trying to hold it. And eventually, before we can even get outside, it obviously didn't work out, and it just kind of just flicks it out of her hands and drops it straight on the ground. And obviously, it didn't really like that very much. It popped open and poured milk all over the very front door of the store. And luckily, the people who work at that store are angels, and they've known us for a very long time at that point. So they were just like, oh no, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Here, take another one. Go. I'll clean this up. We offered to help. He's even as kids, we realized, yeah, we're not idiots, we're not assholes. But yeah, so he didn't accept it. So we just took our milk and forced her to hold it like a sane person, and then we went on our way. And that was just really freaking hilarious. I'm sure my sister's still pretty embarrassed. She still is, by the way, because every time we bring that story up, she's like, what the hell, shut up. So, I don't know if she's going to like it. I don't know if she's going to, if she ever winds up knowing about this. Not sure if she'd appreciate me talking about it, but it's fine. But yeah, back to that owner, by the way. That guy is probably, there's a good few owners there. Like, there's one just sort of young guy who was there for a bit, but then he moved somewhere to do some family stuff. And he came back when I was like 16, 17 or something. So he was gone for like a good like 8 years or something. But in the meantime, there was this old man there who worked there. And he was there pretty much the entire time anyway, but he usually just worked mornings. This time he worked like the whole day. And he was the funniest, nicest dude you could ever imagine having a store. He was just chaos incarnate. Every person who came in, he'd just mess around with. He'd be like, oh, you want... if someone ordered their coffee and they're like, 2 sugars, half and half. He'd be like, you want 3 sugars and double the milk. Okay. And then they'd be like, no, what are you talking about? He's like, I know, it's fine. And he's just silly. He's a silly dude. And to me especially, because I could mess with some silly. So we'd just be cracking wise at each other, going back and forth. And if it wasn't cracking wise and just making dumb jokes at each other, it was just us making some stupid babbling sounds like and then he'd be like 675, like I only have a 10. He's like it was so much fun. And sometimes I'd see this guy, like on his way to or leaving the store, and as we'd walk past each other, we'd just look at each other and just stiffen our necks. It's just, he's just the stupidest stuff. He was such a nice dude. I really want to, like, I have like a small list of things I want to do when I go back to Brooklyn. And one of those things is to go to that store again. And I hope he's alive, because he is the best. And I really want to see him again. It's been way too long. But yeah, I hope they're doing very well over there. Another thing I want to do when I go back there is visit another store. A couple stores, actually. One of them is Tasty Bagels. And if you haven't gone to Tasty Bagels, go to Tasty Bagels. If you live in the Bensonhurst area and you haven't gone to Tasty Bagels, what are you doing? Because that store has the best bagels you will ever see in your entire life. And I'm not even lying. They have, like, I think they had an award ages ago for, like, Brooklyn's Best Bagel or something like that. They're delicious. I'm not going to sell it too much, but if you're going to get something, get a bacon, egg, and cheese on, like a sesame bagel or plain bagel, whatever works for you, whatever bagel you prefer. But their bacon, egg, and cheese sandwiches are some of the most delicious things you can put in your mouth. Their muffins are nice. Their cream cheeses are good. They always have this different weird cream cheeses coming out. Like one of my sister's favorites is their bacon cheddar. So it's literally just bacon bits and cheddar cheese inside of cream cheese. Get that on an onion bagel and you're living the dream. But another place, I have a bunch of different. There's so many different corner stores and stuff like that. One of them is less so a corner store, and it's more so just like an actual grocery store. Is Key Food, which I don't know if it's a regional thing or like a Brooklyn thing or whatever, but Key Food was always one of the bigger stores that was fairly close to a couple blocks away. And there wasn't really, I don't have very too many experiences with this store, except a couple things. There was those toy vending machines. You all know the type. You know, the red top, the red metal top. Then you could see like the little plastic cases of toys inside, and you'd put in some quarters. You'd turn the thing and turn the crank, and then out comes a baby, and that baby is called a rubber bouncy ball, a sticky hand, or some tattoos. It was the dream. You know, buying stuff like that. We'd go to Key Food sometimes just to get some of those stupid things when they had some good ones in. Like one of the best ones was Karma Kids. If you ever, none of y'all know what Karma Kids is, I don't really blame you. It's like a little, like, gelatinous looking. It was sort of like a translucent figure of different colors, and they had different little symbols on them. So like there was a clover one, and that was the lucky one. There was like a skull one, that was like a death one or whatever. There's a bunch of them. There's like a heart one for love, and then so many. And we loved trying to collect those bastards. It was so much fun. Those toy vending machine things were the best. And the only other real proper memory I have that wasn't just being really creeped out by this one guy in a lab coat who just kind of stood around by the exit / entrance of the store, who I still don't know what they were there for, was a birthday scavenger hunt that my friend had put on for me and my sister, because again, I have a twin sister, so obviously we had the same birthday, and we had pretty much the same friend group as well, going into high school. We had pretty much the same friend group. And one of them in particular wanted to make a little thing for us. So what they did, because I love scavenger hunts, I love like escape rooms and stuff, I love things where I have to like think and then solve a thing and then go to the next thing. Some of my favorite things to do. I suck at them. I suck at just about everything I like to do, but who cares? Because I like doing it because it's fun. But the scavenger hunt thing, they made it fairly easy, fairly straightforward. It actually started as going to the across the street store, and we went there, and the old man was like, and he handed us like a paper, because she literally went to several different places and handed people papers and like stuff to give us. And she went all out for this. And this is like before high school, like right before we went to high school. So, you know, we still had a reason to be this stupid and have fun. And so we got that, and then this birthday scavenger hunt, by the way, did not end exactly how my friend had planned it, because it eventually wound up as just, well, first it was just me and my sister, and then as the scavenger hunt continued, it sort of just morphed into our entire group of 6 friends just kind of meeting up, which I don't know if that's what they planned, but it was pretty dang fun. But she had given one of my friends a thing to give something or somewhere, and they didn't put it wherever. But luckily, because of my and my sister's just intuition and genius, I hate the idea of intuition, by the way, so I just forget I said that, but because of our genius, we figured they probably would have us go into Key Food, because we eventually hit a fork in the road. We didn't know which freaking fork to take. Apparently it was because one of my friends didn't actually give me the thing, give the someone a thing that we needed. So, and she ripped that friend a new one, I'll tell you that. Like, livid to the max. But, yeah, so so she's like, yeah, it was in Key Food. Because the thing is, went to Key Food. We didn't get anything. There wasn't actually anything there. We were surprised. And we were telling them, like, hey, we were kind of lost. What do we do? And she's like, what? So she was the last person that actually made it into that big old group of people. She's like, did you not give him the thing? And he was like, no. She was so pissed. But it was Key Food. Key Food was the final place. Because what happened was she'd given it to one of the clerks who just went on break when we went over there. So she had to explain to a whole different person that there was something there for just 2 random people in the store that it was mean to get. And luckily, they got it through their system, and they actually gave it to us. And it was like, it was a bag. like a plastic bag. And so we all go to our apartment, my family's apartment, and we open them up. You know what was in that bag? Bag. You know what was in that bag? Another bag. They wrapped the gift for both of us in like 30 freaking plastic bags. I don't know why. I don't know what their thought process was. I don't know if they just like, hey, what if they notice the shape of the present and they're like, oh, well, I already know what this is. It's a school bus, and then it turns out to be like a freaking guitar or something. But yeah, so she wrapped this thing up to make it look like a ball. And at the end, after like 30, 40 friggin' plastic bags for each of us, by the way, there was like a little plush dude. It was really cute. So it wasn't like a horrible gift or anything. It was just horrible wrapping. But it was very fun. It was a very fun experience. And that was pretty much the only experience I can really remember with key food. There was also a wall bombs, or what we called a wall bounce, which is pretty much just a bigger key food. Bigger, better key food is a little bit further away. But who cared if it was a little bit further away? Because it was the best. It had everything you could ever want in terms of grocery items. Like every different snack food, every different unique little product. They had Ritz Crackerfuls, which is like the only store around the area that had Ritz Crackerfuls. If you haven't had one, you're never gonna have one because I'm pretty sure they're gone. But they were the best. The cheese was the best, the cracker was the best, everything about Crackerfuls was the best. And one of the lunch ladies at my school worked there too, which is very weird, but it wasn't weird in an awkward way, because it was a really nice lady. So it was always nice seeing her there. We'd be like, hey, how's it going? And we'd be like, oh my god, it's you guys, wow. And it was just good fun. That store closed down like around like before we went to high school, which was we were ready to cry because it was so awesome. It was such a nice store. I remember we went there like the last day it was open. There was like nothing on the shelves. It looked like it was ransacked because everything was on like 75% clearance or whatever. Because they're not gonna have anything to do with this stuff if they just don't sell it. So, but yeah, it was pretty damn sad. And there was just sort of a hollow shell of a building where this store was that ultimately became a J-Mart, a Japanese market, which my sister loved going to during high school. I loved it a little less, just because I can't really stand the smell of fish. I wanted to vomit every time I go into that store. But, I mean, hey, it's not for everybody. I understand that. I hate going there. I went there a couple times, but I had to really just try to forget about what I was doing in there. But I will always remember it as the area where Wall Bounce lived. And damn, I love that store. My whole family loved that store. That was like the main store I went to. Then we started going to Key Food more when that closed. Which sucked, but hey, what are you gonna do? Man. I have a couple memories of that. But then I guess I don't have very many memories of Wall Bounce because it was when I was pretty young. But one of the main memories I have of that was Hot Wheels. And I'll explain that right now. When we had a bunch of family over one day, and my dad sent out my older brother to go to Wall Bounce and get some stuff, like sandwich meats and snacks and whatever, like big old bags of stuff. And he came back, he had all that, and he also had a little Hot Wheels, because they had them on where the register was. There's a bunch of them just hanging there. And my sister saw this, and he was like, oh, can I have one? And so my dad sent my brother out to go get her a Hot Wheels. And then he came back with the Hot Wheels, and at this point I step into the situation, and I'm like, what? Hot Wheels? Wow, that's so cool. Can I get one? So then he went out again. He was told to go out again and get me one. And then while he was gone, my sister and I were like, dude, what if we well, let's see how much change we have. Maybe we can get some more cars when he comes back. And we scavenged up like $4 of coins, which was 4 cars, because Hot Wheels were pretty cheap. They still are. Well, I think it might have been like 2 or 3. Because they were more expensive when I was a kid. Now they're like $1, which is crazy. But yeah, he comes back with mine. I'm like, whoa! And then we pull out our freaking Ziploc bag of change. And we're like, could we go get more? And then what ended up happening was that he had to take me and my sister there.
So he for like a full hour he was just going back and forth to this freaking wall bounce, just buying nothing but Hot Wheels. It was really friggin' stupid, but it was really funny at the same time. Freaking loved that wall bounce, and we got some pretty cool cars. My sister is still into Hot Wheels. I'm not as much. I have other dumb collectible things I like. But yeah, wall bounce. Wall bounce will always live in infamy for me. And then I don't know. There's really not much else to talk about. There were some other stores around the area. Like there was a store around the block from us across the street from that had a bunch of deli meats that we always went to for deli meat because the store across the street from us didn't have ham. So we and my family is a ham 101. You know, we love our ham. So we went to a different store for all our deli meats and stuff, and they had a bunch of nice stuff there. It was a really nice store. It was a nice area. You know, they had a bunch of dumb little toys and stuff. I remember, oh my goodness, they had like these stupid little toy kit things. Like they had everyone's like the little police sets or the spy sets and stuff like that. And one of the things they had for this spy stuff, for not for spy stuff, but for the police stuff, was a dumb like handcuff thing and like a wallet. For whatever reason, there was like a really shitty plastic wallet in this toy thing, and it came inside with a little like ID card that you can fill out. And I made myself a really cool name. I forgot what the name was, like Mr. John Hancock or whatever. I tried making it sound really cool, and I was there with my older brother, and I wasn't like 6 at the time either. I was maybe like 10 or 11, so that's pretty embarrassing for like someone in the 6th grade to be doing. But I held on to that wallet for my life for like a good long while, like into high school. Like middle of high school was when I finally ditched that wallet because I had found another one in our closet that belonged to my mom that I still use today. It's a really pretty shade of green. So, but I had that for the longest time, and it was just a really shitty plastic wallet. It was not good. It kept breaking down on me, but I just kept using it because I was like, hey, what else am I gonna do? There's so many dumb things. I also had cap guns and actual caps to shoot there. My sister hates those things. I adore them because they were just so much fun. I don't know what it was about just pew pewing a friggin' stupid toy gun, but it was fun. I think the sound really did it too. Um, and then in terms of another store that was around the area, across the street from that deli place that we go to for our meats, there was, oh my goodness, my throat is freaking killing me. I should really drink some water before I start talking for like an hour. There was a Tasty Chicken, which I think closed down before we left, which is really sad, but I completely understand why. Because they had some really good food, but they knew they had good food. So they made it insanely expensive to eat there. We frickin' would go there like once every couple months because it was so good. But like a 5-piece chicken was like $15. Like a 3-piece is like $7. It was ridiculous how expensive this chicken was, but it was so good. And their fries were so good, and their biscuits were so good. I remember whenever my dad would order it, we'd each get our own chicken. We'd each get like a small thing of fries, and then we'd get like 2 or 3 biscuits because we were fat people. We weren't fat people. We just liked to eat. But one of my favorite things to do was to make a sandwich out of it. So I'd break the biscuit in half. I put the chicken on it, and we usually get waffle fries, so it's really easy to do. I just put like 1 or 2 waffle fries on top of that, if it was lettuce or something, and then I just put the other biscuit top on top, and then I just munched into that, and it was the best. It was so good. And then across the street from that was yet another store that lives in infamy in my head. It was a really shitty deli that was like super cramped. It was super confined. There was not a lot there. But they had a slushie machine that my sisters, my brother, everyone in my family loved slushies. I didn't really care for slushies. I was a really picky kid. I didn't really drink anything. To this day, I still only drink water, not because it's healthy for me, just because I hate drinking anything else. But so one of the things that we had, I was maybe like 6 or 7 at the time. I was younger than the last milk incident. This is another milk incident. I had been told by my dad to go get some milk, and the across the street was out of milk, so he gave me a 10. Milk was like $4.75 at this other store. It was a little bit more expensive than the other store, but I was like, hey, what are you gonna do? We need milk. So I go over to this store. I wasn't going there. Wasn't fine. It was fine. It was pretty late, by the way. My dad, like, I was surprised he asked me to do it. It was like 8 or 9 at night. It was pretty dark at the time. But I was like, hey, I'll go. And then my sisters were outside because they were just chilling. Like, this was back before my landlord turned the entire front area of the apartment into a freaking stupid garden that he never tended to. It was like a concrete area where you can just walk on and like chill. And my uncle made a bench to put over there, which was then taken by my landlord when he freaking revamped the place. It was a scummy move. I really wanted that bench. I was really tempted to ask him for it, but I didn't. So I guess it is now. But it was a really nice bench too. But that's besides the point. They were sitting outside and they were like, "Where are you going?" And I'm like, "I'm going to get milk." And they're like, "Oh, well, the fell on that," because we were all pretty young. We all knew that milk and carrying it was a disaster, especially with me. So I think they were more so just interested in how it was gonna go. But they didn't come. They didn't tag along. So I went over there. I go grab the milk, which is heavy as hell, might I add. So I was very weak as a kid. And I haul it over there to the owner, man, the guy at the register. And he says $9.50. So I spend the other 50 cents on like a tiny bag of like Ridge's chips. I remember that specifically. It's a sour cream and onion green bag of Ridge's chips. They were really good. They were really good. But trying to get that milk home was a disaster. A proper disaster. Because I was so weak, and I had 2 gallons of milk. They were both in plastic bags. I was trying to carry them. I couldn't. So what I ended up doing was I just lit them on the floor. I started trying to just like lift one, put it down, lift one, put it down, like as if I was walking with them as my legs. But that made no progress. So what I eventually I just gave up. And so I just started dragging the milk across the ground, just as if I had a corpse in a bag and I was just trying to lug it to the trash can. It was a disaster. And I get like halfway down the block doing this. And I think nothing of it. I'm like, hey, this is working, whatever. It's heavy as hell. Like, I was working a sweat. And luckily there were some people just sitting outside their house, like halfway down the block. And they're like, hey, did you want some help with that? And I was like, yes, please. I accepted help from a stranger as like a 7-year-old child. But you don't understand. I was desperate. I would have probably passed out from exhaustion before I made it home. It was that bad. I remember the pain. But yeah, not a good time. And they picked one up, by the way. They didn't take both, so I was still dragging one lifeless milk corpse. I didn't realize until that point that there was a little bit of stuff pouring out of this poor soul. And I was like, oh, well, I'm sure that's nothing. So I just kept dragging it. And eventually make it to my house. He helps me up the stairs with it, by the way. So I pretty much just let this complete stranger into my house as a child. He could have murdered my whole family. Could have. Didn't. So, hey. Like I said, all turned out just fine. Talk to strangers, everybody. But, no. What ended up happening, so you get upstairs, and that's when I realized that not only the one that I was carrying was leaking, which I didn't really think too much of until we were getting up the stairs. I'm like, oh, this is actually pretty fast leaking, because I pretty much wore down a gash into the milk container just by dragging it across the concrete, the super rough, super uneven concrete. But I had done enough damage to the other one before he picked it up that both of them had huge gaping holes in it. Not huge, but like enough for it to start dripping at a pretty consistent rate, which I thought was just so sad. And what ended up happening was my dad was pretty okay about it. He was pretty disappointed, but he wasn't pissed off. He just grabbed one of our plastic gallons. You don't want to put water in, like a pitcher, and then we just put the milk in there. Because I mean, what else were we gonna do? We were just gonna let it sit in this leaky gallon mess. And but the worst part of the story, after we get this milk into the thing, he's like, "All right, it's." I was like, "I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't expect this to happen." He's like, "It's fine, son. Just where's my change?" And hit me like a train to the stomach. I was like, I bought a tiny bag of chips with it, and he's like, "What?" He's like he wasn't incredibly. He was fairly upset. He was more upset that I spent his change than he was about me pretty much ruining 2 full gallons of milk, which was really funny at the time. It still is funny now, but it was pretty scary at the time as well. He didn't like get like roid rage levels of upset, but he was pretty dang like, oh man, like why'd you do that? And he was like he raised his voice a little bit, like he was a lot more upset about that than me freaking up the milk. It was crazy. But that's that story. I will never live it down. But it's just so funny. Now I can lift milk, by the way. So, who's laughing now? The last thing I want to say before I sign off now is Walmart and Walmart Superstore. There's a difference between the two. Didn't know that. The Walmart by my house now, by my family's house now, it's a Walmart, not a Walmart Superstore. The Superstore is the one with all the food, all the things that make a Walmart. The Walmart Superstore, just a shit stain on the Walmart community. So that's about all I have in terms of grocery stores. So I hope you all enjoyed tuning in and listening, and thank you. So I hope you tune in for the next episode of Stranded Deep in Conversation. Bye-bye now, y'all.